The day began like any other for Taylor Hayes, the renowned psychiatrist who had spent most of her life helping others mend the broken pieces of their hearts and minds. Yet, little did she know that this ordinary morning would soon become the beginning of a storm that would shake her to her very core. As she sat in her office, preparing for a busy day ahead, a letter arrived, one that would turn her world upside down. The envelope, addressed in neat handwriting with no return address, felt heavy in her hands, as though it carried a weight far greater than its size. With a deep breath, Taylor tore open the envelope, her heart already racing with the premonition of something unsettling. The letter inside was brief, but the words it contained were enough to shatter everything Taylor thought she knew about her past. It simply read, "Hope is your daughter, not Brooke's. Ridge and Brooke took her from you when you were pregnant." Taylor's hands trembled as she reread the words. Her mind raced, trying to process the staggering revelation. Hope, her daughter, the child she had believed for years to be the daughter of her longtime rival, Brooke Logan. It couldn't be true. It couldn't be. Taylor had no reason to doubt her own memories, but this letter, this anonymous message, threatened to unravel everything. For years, Taylor had buried the past, accepting that Brooke and Ridge had gone on to have a family of their own. Taylor's pain over her fractured relationship with Ridge had been immense, and losing him to Brooke had felt like an irreparable blow. However, she had moved on, or so she thought. Her life had been full of challenges and triumphs, but none had been as personally devastating as the heartbreak of losing her family and the betrayal she felt from Ridge and Brooke. To think that Brooke, the woman who had taken so much from her already, could have stolen her child from her too was almost too much for Taylor to bear. Yet a part of her, a part she had kept buried for so long, refused to dismiss the letter. Something inside her knew that she had to uncover the truth. She couldn't ignore it. Taylor's heart raced with a mixture of disbelief and growing suspicion. She had to know if this was a sick joke or if there was something far darker at play. She couldn't simply leave this unanswered. She needed answers, the kind that would not only heal the wounds of the past, but finally bring justice. Brooke had always been a rival, but the notion that Brooke and Ridge could have stolen her child was beyond comprehension. It wasn't just about losing a daughter. It was about the years of lies, betrayal, and manipulation that had marred her life. Taylor knew that the truth, no matter how painful, had to come to light. With a heavy heart and a mind filled with questions, Taylor began her investigation. She knew she couldn't do this alone. As she sought out records, reconnected with old contacts, and revisited the memories of her past, she found herself slowly pulling at a thread that seemed to unravel everything she thought she knew. The more Taylor dug, the more fragments of the past resurfaced in medical files, old conversations she had never fully understood, and even subtle comments from people who had been close to her at the time. But there was still something missing, one piece of evidence that could confirm what she feared most. She needed undeniable proof that Hope was truly her daughter, not Brooke's. Taylor's journey to uncover the truth led her to confront people she hadn't spoken to in years. She reached out to old friends, doctors, and even some of Ridge's former colleagues. Every conversation was a step closer to finding the truth, but every step was also laden with fear and anxiety. What would happen if the truth came to light? How would this revelation change everything? Taylor couldn't help but imagine the consequence Brooke and Ridge's perfect family, built on a lie. Could she really shatter their world? The confrontation between Taylor and Brooke was inevitable. Taylor's determination grew stronger with every passing day, her resolve unwavering. She finally found the final piece of the puzzle, an old medical record that confirmed her pregnancy with Hope, with dates that didn't line up with what had been previously believed. It was undeniable. Hope was her daughter, not Brooke's. The realization hit Taylor like a tidal wave. This wasn't just about the past. It was about the future, about family, about reclaiming what was rightfully hers. The day of the confrontation arrived, and the tension in the air was palpable. Taylor and Brooke had fought for years, but this battle would be different. It would be a fight not just for Ridge's affection, But for the truth, something much more personal, much more devastating. Taylor had never been one to shy away from a confrontation, but this was different. This wasn't just a rivalry. This was the fight for her daughter. The one she had lost, the one she had been kept from all those years. Brooke had no idea what was coming. She had always believed that Hope was her daughter, a gift from Ridge that she had cherished. She had no clue that everything she believed about her family was about to come crashing down. When Taylor walked into the room, her face a mixture of sorrow and determination, Brooke could sense that something was wrong. It wasn't just the usual tension that filled the air between them, it was something more, something far darker. "You have something to say, Taylor?" Brooke asked, her voice a mixture of annoyance and curiosity. She had no idea what was about to unfold, but Taylor's cold, calculated expression sent a chill down her spine. Taylor didn't hesitate. "Hope is my daughter, Brooke. Not yours. Reg and you took her from me when I was pregnant. You stole my child." Brooke's face paled, her eyes widening in disbelief. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, her voice rising. "That's impossible. Hope is mine. She's always been mine." Taylor slammed the medical records down on the table between them, the undeniable proof staring Brooke in the face. "It's true. Hope was born while I was still carrying her. Reg and you knew about the pregnancy. You knew she was mine, and you took her away from me. You lied. You built your life on a lie, Brooke. And now it's time for the truth." Brooke's eyes darted from the documents to Taylor's face, her mind racing. She opened her mouth to deny it, to explain, but the words wouldn't come. She could see in Taylor's eyes the depth of the pain she had caused. But Brooke wasn't the only one who had suffered. Taylor had lost years with her daughter, years of memories that could never be reclaimed. Brooke's face twisted with a mixture of guilt, anger, and disbelief. "You're lying. Rich would never do that. He would never take your child from you. We have our family, Taylor. We've been through so much together. You built your family on my pain, Brooke." Taylor shot back. "You've taken everything from me. First Ridge, then my daughter. And now you want to play the victim. You've lied for years, and I'm done pretending I don't know the truth." The confrontation spiraled from there, with Brooke attempting to defend her actions and Taylor finally unleashing the fury that had been building inside her for years. It was a battle of emotions, of betrayal, of anger that couldn't be contained. For Taylor, this wasn't just a fight for her daughter, it was a fight for her own redemption, for the justice she had been denied for so long. In the end, the truth was undeniable. Brooke and Ridge's perfect family had been built on a foundation of lies, and the revelation shattered everything they had worked so hard to build. But for Taylor, the road to reclaiming her daughter was only just beginning. The confrontation with Brooke was just the beginning of a new chapter in her life, a chapter filled with both triumph and heartbreak. As she fought to rebuild the family that had been stolen from her and reclaim the love of her daughter, Hope, the truth hit Taylor Hayes like a freight train, unrelenting and brutal, leaving her breathless and disoriented. The letter that had arrived out of nowhere, the cryptic message that she had initially dismissed as some cruel joke, now seemed to have a life of its own, unraveling everything Taylor had believed to be true about her past. Hope was not Brooke's daughter. Hope was hers. The realization shattered the foundation of everything Taylor had worked so hard to build, everything she had convinced herself to be true. She had lived with the belief that Brooke had simply won the battle for Ridge, but now she understood that Brooke had stolen something far more precious, her child, her flesh and blood. How could this be? How could the woman she had fought against for so many years, the one who had always been the rival, have taken her daughter from her and kept it a secret for all this time? The betrayal was staggering, unimaginable, and it left Taylor with a profound sense of loss. Not just the loss of a daughter she never got to raise, but the loss of trust in the very people she had once called family. Ridge, Brooke, the very people who had been at the center of her life had now become strangers in the worst possible way. It wasn't just the fact that her child had been stolen from her, it was the profound, almost indescribable hurt of knowing that the people closest to her had known the truth all along and had kept it hidden. The emotional impact was devastating. She had given so much for her family, had put up with so many lies, so much hurt over the years, and now she was left with nothing but annoying emptiness that threatened to consume her. Taylor's mind raced as she processed the truth. She had never suspected that Brooke and Rich could go so far as to take her child. They had already taken so much from Harridge, her love, her dreams of a life together, but this was beyond what Taylor could have ever imagined. The very idea that her daughter, Hope, had been raised by Brooke under the false pretense of motherhood, while Taylor had been left to suffer in silence, felt like a dagger to her heart. It was a betrayal on every level. As a mother, as a woman, as a partner, Taylor had been wronged in the worst way possible. And now she had to face the hardest truth of all. She was not Hope's mother in the eyes of the world. Brooke was. And that was something Taylor couldn't accept. She could feel the weight of the past years bearing down on her, the lost time, the stolen moments that could never be recovered. And as much as it hurt, Taylor knew she couldn't just walk away from this. She had to confront Brooke. She had to confront Ridge. She had to fight for what was hers, for Hope, for the daughter she never had the chance to raise. The decision to confront Brooke was not an easy one for Taylor. She had always been a woman who valued peace, who sought to heal the wounds of the past. But this was different. This wasn't just about a rivalry between two women. It was about a mother fighting to take back what was rightfully hers. The weight of her emotions hung heavily over her as she stood at the door of Brooke's house, her heart pounding in her chest. She had thought about what she would say for days, but now that the moment had arrived, the words seemed to be trapped inside her, unable to come out. Brooke had always been a woman who could control the room with her charm, her warmth, her beauty. But today, Taylor wasn't interested in charm. Today, Taylor was looking for the truth. She knocked on the door, her knuckles barely making contact with the wood before the door swung open. Brooke stood there, as composed as ever, her face lighting up when she saw Taylor. "What can I do for you?" Taylor's eyes locked onto hers, and for a moment, there was nothing but silence. Taylor felt the weight of everything she had learned pressing on her chest, the anger, the sorrow, the disbelief. And then, without warning, she spoke the words that would change everything. "Hope is my daughter, Brooke," Taylor said, her voice steady but filled with an unmistakable edge. "Not yours. You and Rich took her from me when I was pregnant. You stole my child." Brooke's smile faltered for a split second, but she quickly recovered, her face twisting with confusion. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice rising in disbelief. "That's insane. Hope is my daughter." "You're just confused, Taylor." "I don't know what you're talking about." Taylor's eyes narrowed. She wasn't buying the denial. She had the proof, and she wasn't going to let Brooke talk her way out of it. She slammed the medical records down on the table between them, the undeniable proof of what had happened. "These records don't lie, Brooke. Hope was born while I was pregnant. You and Ridge know about my pregnancy. You took her from me. You kept her from me. And now, all these years, you've been lying to me, to everyone." Brooke's face went pale, her expression shifting from confusion to panic. She opened her mouth to protest, but no words came out. She didn't know how to defend herself. "You can't possibly think that I would lie about something like this, Taylor," Brooke finally said, her voice trembling. "Hope is my daughter. Ridge and I raised her. We love her." "You didn't raise her, Brooke," Taylor spat, her voice rising. "You've raised my daughter, and you've been living a lie all these years. You have no idea what it's like to lose your child, to have them ripped away from you and raised by someone else." And Ridge, he knew. He knew, and he let it happen. Taylor's hands shook with fury, but she kept her composure. She wasn't about to let Brooke off the hook. "I've spent years grieving for a child I didn't even know I had. I've watched as you and Rich played the perfect family while I was left with nothing. And now I want my daughter back. I want my Hope. This isn't just about what you've done to me, Brooke. It's about what you've done to her. You've kept her from knowing who she really is. You've kept her from me." Brooke's eyes filled with tears, but they were not tears of guilt. They were tears of fear. She had never expected Taylor to confront her like this, never expected her to have the proof, never expected her to demand her daughter back. For once, Brooke was speechless. The gravity of the situation settled over her like a dark cloud. She had built a life around a lie, and now that lie was crashing down around her. "You can't just take her away from me, Taylor," Brooke finally managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. "She's my daughter. I raised her. I love her." Taylor's expression softened, but only slightly. "I'm not trying to take her from you, Brooke. I'm trying to take back what's mine. What's been stolen from me. I'm her mother. You don't get to decide that. You don't get to keep her from me anymore." The silence that followed was deafening. Neither woman knew what would happen next. What did it even mean to take back a daughter that had been raised by someone else for so long? What did it mean to face the truth, the pain, the betrayal, and the years of lies? Taylor knew that she couldn't undo the past, but she also knew that she couldn't walk away from this. She couldn't let Brooke and Ridge have everything, not when it was all built on her suffering. For the first time in years, Taylor felt the strength to fight not just for her family, but for herself. The battle for hope had only just begun.